currency exchange. In chapter 3, we are looking at business processes, and lesson 3A is currency exchange. Welcome once more to the GCE Maths panel. Different countries have different currencies. For example, in the United States of America, dollars are used, euros are used in most European countries, and pounds in the UK, as well as naira in Nigeria and franc CFA in Cameroon. Equally, note that conversions vary daily. Some common values are 500 FCFA equals 1 US dollars, 660 FCFA equals 1 euro, 800 francs equals 1 pound, and 400 FCFA equals 1 naira. But as I mentioned before, these values are not constant and they vary on an international scale. Let's take some examples. If $1 equals 500 francs, what will be $200 in francs CFA? So what has been given is you have $1 equals 500 francs. Therefore, $200 will be equal to an unknown. We can use any variable to stand for this unknown, in this case x. Note, when working with this, all the dollars must be on one side. If the dollars are on the left hand side, they should remain on the left hand side. If you put on the right hand side, they should remain on the right hand side. And secondly, it will be good for the unknown to be on the right hand side, that is the x. From here, we can obtain a value of x by cross multiplying, and x will be equal to $200 divided by $1 times 500 FCFA, or you can say $200 times 500 FCFA divided by $1, and that will give us 100,000 FCFA. Another example, Oliveira buys milkshakes and pizza for 9 euros. What is the cost in French francs, given that 1 euro equals 6 French francs? So in this particular example, we are working with euros and French francs. And the total for which he bought these milkshakes and pizza is 9 euros. So we want to get the equivalent of euros in French francs. And we have been told that 1 euro equals 6 French francs. So 1 euro equals 6 French francs, and 9 euro will be equal to an unknown. We can call it A, B, or whatever. So solving for A here, we will have A to be equal to 9 euros divided by 1 euro times 6 euros times 6 French francs rather, and that will give us a value of A to be equal to 54 French francs. Example 3, we have if 500 francs equals $1 and 800 francs equals 1 pound, convert 25 US dollars to pounds to the nearest tenth. So there are two instructions here. We are converting from US dollars to pounds, and we are approximating our answer to the nearest tenth. Note, the nearest tenth is the same as to 1 decimal place. Nearest tenth is the same as to 1 decimal place. Actually, this type of problem involves multiple conversions, and specifically here we have 2-step conversions. First, we will convert from US dollars to francs, and then we convert that value in francs to pounds. Let's move on. So step 1, first convert from US dollars to FCFA, and we have been told that 1 US dollar equals 500 francs. Therefore 25 US dollars will be equal to A, and from here our A will be equal to, by cross multiplication, 12,500 francs. This is step 1. The second step now requires us to convert this value now from FCFA to pounds. So from the conversion that has been given in the equation, 800 francs equals 1 pound. Therefore 12,500 francs will be equal to, let's now call it B, since you used A for the first step, B now for the second step. And this gives us a value of B to be equal to 15.6 pounds. And note, the question said to 1 decimal place, so I've approximated the value to 1 decimal place. And the fourth example, though not the last, we have if 500 francs equals 1 US dollar and 800 francs equals 1 pound, convert 400 pounds to US dollars to 1 decimal place. So the first step, like in the previous example, is to convert from US dollars to francs, since francs is the common value that has been given in both currencies. And 1 pound equals 800 francs, therefore 400 pounds will be equal to X. This gives us a value of X to be 320,000 francs. We can now move to step 2, converting now from francs to pounds. And this gives us 500 francs to be equal to 1 US dollars. Therefore, 32,000 francs will be equal to, let's now call it Y, since you use X in the first one. And solving for Y here, we'll have Y to be equal to 640.0 US dollar. Why the 0.0 US dollar? 0.0 because they have set to 1 decimal place. So that decimal place must feature because it has a mark when it will be marked. So don't forget this particular part. Otherwise, you will not score everything. And the last example, if 500 francs equals 1 US dollar and 800 francs equals 1 pound, how many dollars make 1 pound? This is a special example. Here, we use all the conversions that have been given. 1 pound, starting with 1 pound because we want to convert 1 pound to US dollars. So we start with that 1 pound. 1 pound equals 800 francs and 1 US dollar equals 500 francs. So from here, if we have to say, let me say, we have to solve for 1 pound or make 1 pound a subject by cross multiplication, we will have 1 pound to be equal to 800 divided by 500 times 1 US dollar, and that will give us the value of pound to dollars to be equal to 1.6 US dollars. Thank you so much. And hello viewers, welcome to the GCE Math Panel Online. I am your host, Dr. Miles. You can visit our website on www.gcemathpanel.blogspot.com for past papers, corrections of past papers, as well as our online school, which is free for all the candidates preparing for the GCE in Form 5 and Opposite, Grammar and Technical. This lesson is on simple interest, and we'll begin by explaining the concept of simple interest. Simple interest is the interest that depends on the principal alone. Another word for principal is capital, or the amount of money that is invested in a business or in a bank. And the following formulae are used when calculating or working with simple interest. Simple interest is given by the formula capital times rate times time, or principal times rate times time. And the amount at the end of a certain period is given by the principal plus the simple interest. From here, you can obtain the principal or the rate or the time by doing simple transformations on transposition of formulae. Alternatively, you can get the amount directly if given the rate, the time, and the principal by using the formula amount equals principal into 1 plus rate times time. Let's take some examples. Calculate A, the simple interest, and B, the amount on 20,000 FCF over 3 years at 1% per annum. Annum means year. So whenever you see the word annum, it stands for year. So the A part requires us to calculate simple interest, and simple interest equals principal times rate times time. Note, do not put divided by 100 for rate, because rate is already as a percentage. That simplification is done in the elementary education because of their level and for simplicity. Do not do that in the secondary and high school. So this gives us 200,000 times the rate here is 1%, that is 1 over 100 times 3, and that is equal to 600 FCFA. That's the simple interest. Now for the B part, the amount is equal to principal plus simple interest, and that gives us 20,600 francs. Or alternatively, we can get the amount by using the formula amount equals principal into 1 plus rate times time, and that will give us 20,000 into 1 plus 0.01 times 3, and that still gives us 20,600 francs. Example 2, calculate the time taken for a capital of 500 euros to yield a simple interest of 80 euros at 2% per year. Here what has been given is the capital of 500 euros, the simple interest of 80 euros has been given, and the rate of 2% per year. What we have to calculate is the time. So we can transpose the formula to get time, and time is equal to simple interest divided by principal times rate. Putting in the values, you have 80 over 500 times 0.02, and that gives us a value of 8 years. So it takes 8 years for this principal to yield an interest on a simple basis of 80 euros at 2%. Example 3, at the end of 5 years, the amount in a saving account is £500, 5,000 pounds. If the amount that was saved at the beginning was 4,000 euros, 4,000 pounds rather, find A, the simple interest, and B, the interest rate. So the simple interest is given by, since we have been given the amount and the principal, we can obtain the simple interest by subtracting principal from amount. So simple interest equals amount minus principal, and this gives us 1,000 pounds. B, to find the interest rate, rate is equal to simple interest over principal times time, and that gives us 1,000 over 4,000 times 5, which is equal to 5% per year, since you have been told that the period was in years. Example 4, at the end of a 5-year period, the total amount is 3 times the initial amount that was deposited. If the simple interest is 8,000 francs, find A, the amount that was deposited, B, the total amount now, and C, the bank rate at this simple interest. So the period here is 5 years, and the total amount is now 3 times the initial amount that was deposited, and the simple interest is 8,000. So amount here is equal to 3 times the principal. So we form two equations. Amount equals 3 times the principal, and equally amount is the same as principal plus simple interest. From equations 1 and equation 2, we have 3 times the principal equals principal plus interest. This will give us 2 times the principal to be equal to the interest, and the principal is equal to the interest on 2. However, the interest has been given as 8,000 francs. Therefore, the principal will be 8,000 francs on 2, which is 4,000 francs. B, the total amount will be principal plus simple interest. That gives us 4,000 plus 8,000, which equals 12,000. And the bank rate is given by simple interest divided by capital times time. This gives us 8,000 over 4,000 times 5. So we have a rate of 40% per year. Don't forget to subscribe. And example 5, how long will it take for an amount X to double at 5% simple interest? So we know that amount is equal to principal plus simple interest, and simple interest is given by principal times rate times time. So from here we have the amount, the principal, which is X, plus X times rate times time, should be equal to 2X. Should be equal to 2X, because they say the amount that was saved to double. So from X to 2X. This will give us rate X times rate times time to be equal to X. Divide both sides by X, will be left with rate times time to be equal to 1. And time will be equal to 1 over rate, which is 1 over 0.05. Giving us 20 years. So you take 20 years for the amount X to double at the 5% simple interest. Our next topic is on compound interest. Don't forget to subscribe and to share your comments and these links with other friends who are preparing for the ordinary level, advanced level as well in mathematics. And you can equally visit our blog to join our online school and take our weekly quizzes. Thank you so much and stay tuned. Bye bye. Processes. We start by defining the concept of compound interest. And compound interest is the interest that depends on the principal as well as on the previous interest. For short, it is an interest that yields interest. And the formula for compound interest is given by the interest of period 1 plus the interest of period 2 up to the period n. The amount of the end of the n periods is given by amount equals principal or the capital or the investment plus the compound interest. Alternatively, this formula can be used to obtain the amount, especially when we have a longer period. Amount equals principal bracket open 1 plus the rate, all that to the power n. Let's take some examples. Calculate the compound interest and the amount on 10,000 francs for 3 years at 10% per year. So for compound interest, we go year by year. At the beginning of the first year, the principal P1 is 10,000. The rate remains constant, so the rate is 10%, and we are working with each year. That means we work year by year, so the year is always 1 year. Our interest for year 1, that's at the end of the year, is given by the principal of year 1 times the rate times the time, and this gives us 10,000 times 0.1 times 1, which is equal to 1,000 francs at the end of year 1. Now for year 2, the principal of year 2 is given by the principal of year 1 plus the interest of year 1. That gives us 10,000 plus 1,000, which equals 11,000. Therefore, our interest for year 2 is given by P2 times rate times time, which is 11,000 times 0.1 times 1, giving us 1,100 francs. The third year, since they said for 3 years, at the beginning of the third year, the principal is the principal of year 2 plus the interest of year 2, and that gives us 12,100 francs. And therefore, at the end of year 3, the interest I3 will be equal to P3 times rate times time, giving us a value of 12,010 francs. Therefore, our compound interest for these 3 years will be equal to the interest of year 1 plus the interest of year 2 plus the interest of year 3, which is equal to 3,310 francs FCFA. The next thing is to calculate the amount, and the amount is given by the principal plus the compound interest, and that gives us a total of 13,310 francs. We can equally do this problem using method 2 as follows. That's using the second formula which I indicated before, and here the compound interest can be obtained from that formula, amount minus principal. Let's start by getting the amount from that formula. The amount equals principal into bracket open, that is 1 plus rate, or that's the power n, and that gives us 10,000 into 1 plus 0.1 to the power 3, which equals 13,010 francs. And from here, the compound interest is the amount minus the principal, which is 13,010 francs minus 10,000, giving us 3,010 francs. Like I said, this formula is good, especially when we have longer periods. Then, to calculate the amount, since this equation has to be marked, it would be good if you just copy this particular section and put back on the paper. That gives us the amount 13,010 FCFE. Example 2. An amount of 5,000 euros is deposited in a bank at a compound interest rate of 5% for 2 years. Find the compound interest and the total amount at the end of the period. So for year 1, our P1 is 5,000, the rate is 5%, and T is 1 year. I1 is P1 times rate times time, giving us 250 francs, then, or euros rather. Then P2 is 5,000. As to begin the second year, we need this 5,000 plus this interest of year 1, giving us 5,250. And I2 will be principal times rate times time, which equals 262.5 FCFA. Therefore, compound interest is equal to 512.5 francs. And the amount at the end of the period is this principal at the beginning plus the compound interest, giving us 5,512.5 francs. Or we can use the formula and we'll have the same thing for the amount, 5,512.5 francs. The next example calculates the compound interest and amount on $20,000 for 4 years at 2% per year. So when the period is longer, it's better to use the direct formula. Here I'm applying the formula directly, and that is going to give me $21,648.64. And the compound interest is amount minus principal, giving me $21,648.64 minus 20,000, which equals 1,648.64 FCFA. The last example, don't forget to subscribe. Find the compound interest and amount on 10,000 francs at 1% per month for 3 years. Be very careful with this question. This question says the rate is per month, but the period is in 3 years. Since the rate is per month, we are going to convert everything here to months. So 3 years is equal to 36 months, and I'm going to use this in the formula. Since we have longer periods, that will give me 10,000 into 1 plus 0.01 to the power 36, and that gives us 14,007.687 francs. Therefore, the compound interest is amount minus principal, and that gives us 4,307.687 francs. Thank you so much, and don't forget to subscribe. Our next lesson is on profit and loss in business, part 1. Stay tuned, and don't forget to join our online school, which is for free. Bye bye. So in this part, we continue with profit and loss in business. A businessman makes a profit or when selling price is greater than the cost price. So if the selling price is less than the cost price, then there is a loss. Profit is given by selling price minus cost price, and the loss is given by the cost price minus the selling price. So you have a loss when you sell at a smaller price compared to what you bought the item. The percentage profits and loss are calculated as follows. For percentage profit or percentage gain, we have the profit over the cost price, always over the cost price, times 100% over 1. And for the loss, is the same procedure, loss over cost price times 100% over 1. Let's take some examples. So an article is bought for 5,000 francs and sold for 6,000 francs. Is this a gain or a loss? Calculate this gain or loss and find this percentage gain or loss. So this article is bought for 5,000 and sold for 6,000. Obviously, the person has made a gain, and the gain or the profit is given by the selling price minus the cost price. That gives us 1,000 francs. And the percentage profits or gain will be equal to the gain over the cost price times 100% over 1, which is equal to 20%. Don't forget to leave your likes, your comments, and subscribe to this channel and share these videos with others. Let's take the next example. A laptop is bought for $2,000 and sold at a profit of $600. Calculate the selling price. So we know that selling price is equal to cost price plus profit. So the selling price here will be equal to the cost price, which is 2,000 plus 600. That gives us 2,600. Now calculate the percentage profit. Percentage profit, as we have seen previously, is profit over cost price times 100% over 1. And this gives us a value of 30%. Lastly, the percentage selling price is given by, we know that the percentage selling price can be calculated in 2 ways. We can have selling price over cost price times 100% over 1, or we can just take the percentage profit plus 100%, because the cost price is always 100%.
So selling price on cost price times 100% over 1 to calculate the selling price. So this will give us 130%. Here you should note that whenever you make a profit or a gain, the percentage selling price will be more than 100. If you make a loss, then the percentage selling price is less than 100. If the cost price is equal to the selling price, then the percentage selling price is 100. Okay, so selling price is greater than 100% when you make a profit and less than 100% when you make a loss. Another way to calculate the percentage selling price here is to take 100%, since we know that a percentage cost price is always 100% plus the percentage gain. So this is another way to get the percentage selling price, just 100% plus the 30% here, because percentage cost price does not change. It is always 100%. So in another example, the cost price of an article is 80% of the selling price. What is the percentage selling price? So the cost price of this item is 80% of the selling price. So we can make the cost price is subject of the formula, and we substitute in the formula to calculate percentage selling price. So here, if you check, you'll see that the answer is going to be 125%, since percentage cost price is always 100%. And how do we do this calculation? So here we have the cost price is equal to 80% times selling price. That's what we have been told. So cost price is equal to 0.8 times selling price. We now substitute this in the formula for selling price, which is percentage selling price is equal to selling price over cost price times 100%, and this gives us selling price, that is SP, on 0.8 SP. Note that our cost price is 0.8 SP. That is it here. So we substitute, and when this SP selling price will cancel out with selling price, we'll be left with 100% divided by 0.8, which is 125%. 125%. Example 5. The percentage selling price of an article is 75%. If the actual cost price was 3,200 French francs, find the selling price and the ratio of the cost price to the loss or the gain. So the first thing here is to find the selling price. We have been given the percentage selling price, and we have also been given the cost price. One thing we have to know here is, or we have to recall, is cost price is always 100%. So we can use simple proportion. Okay, cost price is always 100%. So this 3,200 is equal to 100%, and the selling price will be equal to the percentage selling price in this proportion. So our selling price, let's call it SP, selling price will be equal to 75%. From here we can cross multiply, and we will get the selling price as selling price is equal to 3,200 times 75%, all that on 100%. That's by cross multiplication. Cancelling out or simplifying will give us 2,400 French franc as the selling price. Now, what would be the ratio of the cost price to the loss or the gain? Here, the selling price is 75%, which means that this article was sold at a loss. Whenever selling price is less than 100, then we have a percentage loss. So the loss here is 25%, okay? So it's 25%, and we can get the ratio of the cost price, which is always 100%, to the loss, which is 25%. We divide all through by 25%, and the ratio will be 4:1. That ratio gives us 4:1. Don't forget to leave your comments below and to subscribe to this channel. Also watch part 4 and the other parts. There are equally quizzes on our blog. Visit www.gcemathspanel.blogspot.com, and you get a lot of materials from there. All right, next part will be on profits and loss part 2. Those were just simple questions. Now let's take some more complex questions, not in the sense of complex, because we don't believe in complexity in mathematics. So a businessman makes a profit, or when selling price is greater than the cost price, we say a profit has been made. However, if the selling price is less than the cost price, then there is a loss. And we recall that profit is equal to selling price minus cost price. Loss is equal to cost price minus selling price. In working with percentages, we have the following formulae. In part 1, we saw this formulae. Now in part 2, let's see what we are going to have. So in working with percentages, percentage profit is equal to profit over cost price times 100%. And recall that profit also means gain. And secondly, cost price is always 100%. That is percentage cost price equals always 100%. And we have these additional formulae which are very important, and we have to be very careful with percentage selling price, because percentage selling price is equal to selling price and cost price times 100%. And percentage selling price can also be given by 100% plus percentage profit. That is if you have a profit, so plus percentage profit. But if the profit is a negative profit, that is a loss, then it is percentage selling price equals 100% minus loss. So when it's a loss, loss is a negative profit, so there is a negative sign here. When it's a profit, it's positive. This is what you have to take note in this second part of profit and loss in business. Let's take a simple example to begin. A woman sold 14 cartons of fish for 168,000 francs. What is the selling price for one carton? And if the cost price for one carton is 10,500, what is her gain after selling all the cartons? So in this part 2, we are looking at a bit longer questions. So 14 cartons were sold for 168,000. Price of one carton will just be simple. 168,000 divided by what? By 14. So this gives us selling price for one carton is equal to 168,000 francs divided by 14, of which one carton will be 12,000 francs. Now, if the cost price for one carton is 10,500, what is her gain after selling all the cartons? So equally here, we can answer this question in 2 ways. You can calculate the gain for one carton, and we multiply the result by 14 since there were 14 cartons altogether, or we can look for the total selling price, because the cost price for one carton is that, so total cost price rather, and then we get this selling price and we do a subtraction. So the total cost price for the 14 cartons is 14 times 10,500, because the price of one is 10,500. That gives us total cost price to be 147,000 francs, and the gain will be total selling price minus total cost price. 168,000 minus 147,000 gives us yields 21,000 francs as her total gain profit. If you do not understand something here, you can rewind and watch the video again. Okay, so here's an exercise. Cindy sells protective mask at the pharmacy against coronavirus. She makes a gain of 2,000 francs per pack, a profit of 25% the purchase price. The percentage selling price is, all right, so you know exactly what to do. Okay, next example. A shop sells a television set. It offers a discount of 15% off the normal price. Rena bought the television for 357,000. Calculate the normal price of the television set. So here we are on discounts, and discounts means percentage selling price here is now 85%, because there is a discount of 15%. It means if they were selling the item for 100, you will now buy it for 85 instead of 100, because there is a discount. So here 100 minus 15, that is minus discount, is equal to 85%. Okay, so this 85%, or 85 on 100, 85% is equal to the selling price of 357,000. Because she bought it at a discount of 15%, it means that she bought it at 85%, and this 85% is equal to 357,000. So 85% of the original price, let the original price be X. So 85% of this original price is equal to what Rena bought it. Because she bought it at a discount of 15%, it means that she's not paid all the money. She was supposed to pay 100%, but she paid only 100 minus 15%, which is 85%. She paid only 85% of the selling price. And that selling price is what we don't know, we are looking for. That selling price, let it be X. So 85% of this selling price gives us this 357,000. And from here, our X, when we cross multiply, will give us 357,000 times 100 on 85. So she actually bought, or the actual selling price, or the normal selling price of the TV set is 420,000. So it's probably a flat screen TV, right? Right, that's 4 marks. Okay. Don't forget to subscribe and to leave your comments. Most of our videos from now henceforth, if you have not subscribed, you might not be able to see them. So it's very important you subscribe. And to subscribe, just go below the video on your phone. There's an arrow that is pointing down. Click on it, and you'll see a button to subscribe. Okay. All right. A student's pocket allowance is her profit from buying and selling 3 packets of sweets every week of 5 school days. So her pocket allowance comes from her profit of what she buys and sells during the 5 days of school. Given that she buys each packet of 45 sweets for 700 francs and sells a sweet for 25 francs, calculate the following. So let's first of all look at the equation and understand it. So this student's pocket allowance comes from her profit. This student is selling in school, although she does not sell in school, but this is a mathematical example, forget about that. This student sells sweets in school, and she buys and sells 3 packets of sweets every 5 days. That is every 5 school days. She buys 3 packets of sweets and sells them. And it is from the profit of those sweets that she has her pocket allowance. So given that she buys each of the packets of 45 sweets, so one packet has 45 sweets for 700 francs and sells 1 sweet for 25 francs, calculate her selling price per packet. So she sells 1 sweet to 25 francs, right? And there are 25 sweets inside. So what will be the selling price for 1 packet? It will be equal to that 25 francs for 1 sweet times number of sweets, which is 45. So the selling price for 1 packet is 1,125 francs. Now her profit per packet, how much does she make for 1 packet? This one is just 1 packet. So for 1 packet, her profit will be equal to this selling price minus the cost price. The cost price is 700 francs. So that's her profit for 1 packet. Now see, what is the student's weekly profit? Now this is her profit for just 1 packet, and she sells 3 of these packets in a week. So her weekly profit will be this amount times 3. That gives us 1,275 francs. And Z, what is her average daily pocket allowance? Now this total profit also is what she will divide into 5 to have her allowance for 1 day. Therefore, her pocket allowance per day will be equal to this 1,275 francs divided by 5. 1,275 francs divided by 5. And that gives us... Alright, so that's what we have. So you can go through this question again, and that would be very nice. Now the next long question reads, a tailor is studying the cost of sewing 1 coat as follows. The cost of buying material is 15,000. Cost of buying material is 15,000. Other expenditures amounts to 10% of the cost of material. Here now we are in ratio and proportion as well as profit and loss mixed together. Calculate how much was spent on other expenditures. So we look at the question again. The tailor is studying the cost of sewing 1 coat as follows. The cost of buying the material is 15,000 francs. Other expenditures amounts to 10% of the cost of material. Look at it. Of the cost of material. What's the cost of material? 15,000. Other expenditures amounts to the cost of material. How many percent? 10% of this cost. So calculate how much was spent on other expenditures. So other expenditures will just be 10% of 15,000 francs, and that gives us 1,500 francs. Now, a paragraph introduces the B. The tailor worked for 7 hours and charged 1,500 francs per hour for the labor. Calculate the cost of labor. She worked for how many hours? Or he, since the tailor worked for 7 hours, so he probably charged 1,500 francs. So the total cost of labor will be 7 hours, that is 7 hours, that is 15,000 francs, 1,500 francs per hour times 7 hours. So that gives us 7 times 1,500, which is equal to 10,500 francs. So that is what he earns for the 7 hours of work. Now see the total cost inquired to make the coat. The total cost inquired to make the coats. The total cost to make this coat is the cost of material plus the cost of labor plus other expenses. So we have 15,000, which is the cost of buying it. Other expenses amounted to 1,500, and time of work was 10,500. So the total cost of the coat is 27,000. This paragraph introduces the last part. To sell the coat, the tailor intends to make a profit of 20% on the cost price. So this is the total cost price, 27,000. The tailor wants to make a profit of 20%. So we have to determine the cost at which the tailor must sell the coat. If the tailor intends to make a profit of 20%, then the tailor must sell at a percentage selling price of 120%. Okay? So the percentage selling price must be 120%. Why? Because the tailor wants to make a profit of 20%. And we saw previously that a selling price can be given by percentage selling price on percentage cost price times 100%. So here, to get the selling price, you can use percentages also. So the selling price will be equal to percentage selling price on percentage cost price times cost price. So the tailor must sell this coat at 32,400 francs to make a profit of 20%. You can check here and you see that the profit or the gain is 20%. Okay. Last but not the least among these questions, so this is another long question. B. Pierre and Ghana invested some money in a business and made a total profit of 468,000 francs. They shared 10% of the profit equally. Find the amount shared. Always be very careful with these questions. There are 3 of them, and they did not share all of this money. They shared 10%. So the first thing to do here is calculate 10% of this money, and 10% of this gives us 46,800. So this is what they share equally. So each of them gets 1/3 of this. So what they shared equally is this 46,800. So that is the total amount that they shared, and B, the amount each person gets now is 46,803, which is equal to 15,600. Now C, what is the remaining profit? So after you remove this 46,800 from this 468,000, the remaining profits will be equal to 421,200. And now we move to ratio and proportion. The remainder of the profits we have calculated to be 421,200. Now this paragraph introduces the D part and it states the remainder was shared among B, Pierre and Ghana in the ratio 3:5:7 respectively. The word respectively here is very important because it means the first name they call matches the first digit here of the first number, the second name matches the second, and the third matches the third as well. That's the meaning of respectively. Even if they don't say respectively in the exam, always recall, follow this rule of respectively. So it therefore means that B should get 3 parts out of the total, APA should get 5 parts, and Ghana should get 7 parts of this profit. So we should calculate B's share of the remainder. So they want us to calculate only B's share of this remainder, this profit that is left. So what's B's share? B's name is the first name that they called here. So B actually get 3 parts out of this total. So B's share will be equal to 3 out of the sum of ratio is 3 plus 5 plus 7. So 3 on the sum of ratio. So 3 parts out of the total, which was 15 parts, now times this amount that was left times 421,000. That gives us 421,200 times 3 on 15, which is equal to 84,240. Now, so this is the amount she received from the remainder. Now, the total amount received by B. Her total amount now will be equal to this 84,240 plus what she had initially, that each person had, 15,600. And that amounts to 99,840 francs. You can go through this question again. This is a very important question. These are the long questions of the GCE. And these questions slightly, the only moderate or modify them each year is just the same story. Don't forget to subscribe and to leave your comments below. GCE Maths Panel. Now, this is another long question. Miriam sold rice, beans, corn, and gari in buckets on a particular day. She made a profit per bucket for each item sold as follows. For rice, she made a profit of 600 francs per bucket, beans 500 francs per bucket profit, corn 300 francs per bucket profit, and the profit for gari was 2/3 the profit for rice. Find A, the profit per bucket of gari on that day. So here I've been told that the profit for gari is equal to 2/3 the profit for rice. What's the profit for rice? The profit for rice is 600 francs per bucket. So we have 600 times 2/3, and that gives us 400 francs. So this is the profit she made per bucket of gari. Now the B part of the question says the ratio of the profit per bucket of rice and gari sold. So they want us to get rice is to gari. We can get the ratio from here directly. The answer is actually there, right? But now they have reversed something, so you have to be very careful with this one, because if you just take 2/3, you fall into a trap. Look at it. They have given the ratio as rice to gari. So rice is 600, gari is 400. So when we simplify this ratio, dividing all through by 200, we have 3:2. Okay, 3:2. Or you can just reverse what was given up here. Now see the total profit she made on that day from selling 4 buckets of rice, 2 buckets of beans, 5 buckets of corn, and 4 buckets of gari. So the total profit will just be equal to number of buckets times profits per bucket for each item. So we have 4 times 600 for rice, that is 2,400. Then for beans, how many buckets of beans? 2 buckets times the profit per bucket is 500. Then the next item is corn. 5 buckets of corn times 300, which is equal to 1,500 francs. And the last item now is gari. Gari is 400 francs profit per bucket times 4 buckets, which is 1,600 francs. So when we sum all of this, we have a total of 2,400 plus 1,000 plus 1,500 plus 1,600. That gives us a total amount of 6,500 francs as the profit for these sales. Now she used 2 feet of her profit to buy fish. Calculate the amount spent to buy fish. So we just have 2 feet of the 6,500, and that will give us 2,600 francs as profit amount spent on fish. That's the amount on fish. And lastly, she used 1/13 of the remainder of her profit for her taxi fare and saved the rest. Find her taxi fare. A taxi fare will just be equal to 1/13 times the remainder. The remainder from this 6,500 francs after 2,600 francs has been removed will be 6,500 francs minus 2,600. So she's left with 3,900. And it is from this 3,900 that she spends 1/13 on taxi. So taxi fare will be equal to 1 over 13 times 3,900, and this will give us an amount which is equal to 300 francs for taxi. Last but not the least, the amount that she saved. So her amount that she had was 6,500. She removes 2,600 francs for fish and 300 francs for taxi fare. So how much will be left? So her savings will be equal to 6,500 francs minus this 2,900 or 2,600 plus the 300. That gives us a total of 3,600 francs as savings. So don't forget to subscribe. Next part 4 is on a lot more than this. So the last question here is just on a discount again. We had the first question on discount, which was 15%. Now this is the second question on discount. So during an auction sale, a shop reduced the prices of articles by 10%. Calculate the selling price for an article originally priced at 43,000. So the discount here is 10%. An article that's originally priced at 43,000, what would be the selling price? So this article now, you no more buy this article for 100%, that's a selling price. You now buy it for 100 minus 10. So you have to pay only 90% of the amount, right? Which should be 90% of 43,000 because the discount is 10%, and you have to pay just 38,700 francs. So, or you can calculate 10% of 43,000 and then you subtract from 43,000. That gives you still 38,700 francs alternatively. So our next part 4 will be on factorization and expansion, collecting terms, numerical values, simple linear equations, indices, logarithms, and surds, as well as simple linear equations. Please make sure you watch and you subscribe. Thank you so much, and join the GCE Maths panel. It's Dr. Mice, your host, Madam Lisa, and all the members of the board.